Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. Profit for Small Firm Architects, it's our free course. We'll teach you how to earn 20% on your next project. Download it today for free, entrearchitect.com/free course. This episode of Entre Architect Podcast is supported by our platform sponsors, ARCAT, the online resource delivering quality building material information, CAD details, BIM, specifications, and much more at arcat.com. FreshBooks, the cloud-based accounting software that makes running your small firm easy, fast, and secure. Spend less time on accounting and more time doing the work that you love. And Gusto. Gusto is making payroll, benefits, and HR easy for small businesses. Modern technology does the heavy lifting. so it's easy to get things right. Rachel Preston Prinz, welcome to Entre Architect Podcast.
Hi, Mark. It's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you here. We've been friends on Twitter a long time. And it's great to finally hear your voice and to have you on the show here to sort of share your knowledge with our community. So it's great to have you here.
Thanks so much. It's great to finally meet you too.
Let me introduce you for those who don't know who you are. Rachel is an architecturally trained American designer working in architecture and design, placemaking, cultural and historic preservation, and community engagement. Rachel promotes the craft of architecture and the genus loci which is spirit of place, as told through photography, publishing, marketing, and design. In addition to running the consulting firm Archenia, got it. And the nonprofit Architecture for Everybody, Rachel has served as a preservation commissioner in Taos, New Mexico, as the host of the University of New Mexico Taos Sustainability Institute, and as co-host of the TEDx ABQ Albuquerque Women. Rachel's work has been featured on television at HGTV, Bravo, New Mexico PBS, and Canadian PBS, and in print at Reader's Digest, Trend, Inc. Magazine. She's been featured in numerous articles, talks, podcasts, interviews, books on design, leadership, finding courage in difficult circumstances. Rachel's an expert people connector, which is why I like her, because I'm a people connector too. It's my passion. So we definitely click there.
Yes.
And she brings new and exciting energy to everything she does. And it is great to have you here, Rachel, on the Entre Architect Podcast.
Thanks so much.
Let's roll right into your origin story. Let's learn more about you. Where did you discover architecture? What inspired you to take this journey and tell us that story to where you find yourself today?
Oh, my goodness. That's an interesting story and sort of convoluted. And it's been convoluted the whole time, but it's been a great adventure, so I've enjoyed it. Interestingly, when I started, not even when I started in architecture, let's get earlier than that.
Yeah.
So when I was a teenager, I actually ran away from home and told my mom and dad the only way I would come home is if they put me in military school.
This is a great story already.
Right? It's kind of weird. But because I wanted to be a radar intercept officer in an F-14. I wanted to be a fighter pilot. I didn't actually want to pilot. I wanted to be a navigator. I wanted to basically be Goose in Top Gun.
Yeah.
And
so how you were in high school? A teenager?
I was actually in junior high.
Junior high. Got it.
And I graduated high school early. But so I did go to military school and started training for flying and was hoping to go to Annapolis and was in my physical one year. And the doctor sat me down and said, Rachel, I don't know how to tell you this, but you're never going to fly because you have some eye problems that we're going to need to resolve. And so that's just something we need to take off the table right now. And that was pretty devastating for me. But I went ahead and finished out the year. And then I decided, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself, but I hate being in high school. And so I actually started correspondence courses at college and graduated high school early and went to University of North Texas because my mom and dad said that they would pay for school, but only if I went to school in Texas and only if I went to business school. And University of North Texas actually happened to have a really great psychology program. And I was kind of interested in psychology. So I went 2 years to North Texas, and when I was 19, my mom called me before I went home for Easter, and she said, Rach, when you come home for Easter, I want you to bring khaki slacks and a blue blazer and a white button-down shirt and a long skirt and all these, like, she just goes down this list. Oh, and walking shoes. And she said, I have a surprise for you. And I was kind of thoroughly excited about it, but also kind of perplexed because my mom hadn't dressed me since I was left home at 15. And so I drove up to my house, and my mom was parked out in front, and my dad walked out, and he got my bags out of the back of the trunk of my car and put them in my mom's car. And my mom handed me my passport, and she said, "I love you so much, and I know you're a little lost, and I have a present for you." And she flew me to Paris.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
And with her or by yourself?
With her.
Got it.
And she had talked to all of my professors and got me out of school for a week, and actually 10 days or so. And we just went and explored France. And from the minute that I arrived in Paris, something shifted in me. And then we got to Sainte-Chapelle Cathedral, it's not really a cathedral, but it's a tiny little thing. But it's just exquisite. I'm sure you know it. And that really shifted me. And then we walked over to Notre Dame, and there were 5 priests up on the dais as we walked in, and each of them was singing in a different language. And somehow, as we're walking towards the front of the room, I could distinctly hear those 5 different languages sort of raise above me into this chorus that was something totally new, and not any of the languages, but almost like kind of heavenly in a way.
Yeah.
And I literally fell down. And started weeping. And I was like, I want to figure out how to create spaces that make this happen.
Yeah. That's powerful.
And literally the minute that I got home, I transferred to Texas A&M and enrolled in the architecture program. And which was just absolutely an extraordinary experience. And I ended up being able to, I thought I was going to go to Harvard for my master's degree, but A&M offered me a kind of a unbelievable deal because they were really interested in my research, where I basically got to do my master's in Europe, in Italy and France, working with Vivian Paul, one of the truly renowned Gothic cathedral scholars, doing the very, very first digital mapping, laser mapping of a cathedral, which we failed at spectacularally, by the way, because the technology.
Yeah, just too early.
The technology but that's how it got there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's everybody who's
it's a pioneer.
using BIM and all of that stuff now. All of that started with the work that me and all these amazing people like Vivian were working on in those days in the 90s. And it's just absolutely extraordinary. And then I got to work on, I got several fellowships to stay in Europe. And I ended up doing my thesis on Palladio's Villa Emo and getting to do their preservation plan, which was pretty awesome.
And so you're doing this all through Texas A&M?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was just extraordinary. I had some really amazing professors, and they just never told me to stop, even though I had all these crazy ideas. They kept sort of pushing me out and being like, "Okay, see if you can do it." Yeah. That's
a gift in itself.
That's the thing, a lot of people go to really amazing schools with amazing professors, and in some ways I wish I would have gone to some of the bigger schools, but on the other hand, A&M was just such an extraordinary experience, and I'm still friends with lots of my professors and lots of the kids that I went to school with, and so I feel like that was the beginning of starting sort of an architectural family for me, and so I was constantly sort of lifted up by these people who were inspiring me and telling me to keep going and whatnot, and it was just extraordinary.
Yeah, I've been doing this for a bunch of years now, this podcast, and I ask this origin story of everyone, and it's much more often that you, as part of the origin story, that somebody's been discouraged during architecture school.
Absolutely.
That they've been asked to leave, or that they aren't good enough, and that they should go do something else.
And I got that too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just part of the game, right?
Yeah, exactly. But there's when somebody like, and I've heard this a few times, but not as powerfully as yours, where somebody sort of steps in and encourages you to just keep going. They see something in you that is blossoming, and they don't want to lose it, and they just keep pushing you toward that direction. And so it's great to hear that part of your story.
Yeah, it's critical. And there was one professor in particular who actually lives in Santa Fe, and so I've had him in my life literally for 25 years now, and that
Wow.
is just extraordinary. And he's been one of my biggest cheerleaders all along. So yeah, it's really incredible.
Yeah. So keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to put an exclamation point on that part because I want some professors to hear that, and
Yes.
I want some students who may be struggling through some of these issues to know that there are people out there who will encourage you beyond the people who are discouraging you.
Absolutely. And go find them. That would be one
Yeah.
piece of advice I would go to give to students now. If it's not a professor, go meet people in AIA. Go meet people who are doing talks on design. Really be fearless about trying to find someone who really gets what you're trying to do, because that support will get you through all of the darkness that's ahead.
Yeah, I
And I
agree.
don't mean to be morbid, but this is a hard profession.
It
So.
is. It is. So keep going. This is a great story, and I don't want to. I sort of threw you off your momentum here. So
Oh, no, it's totally fine.
yeah.
So anyway, so I finished up school in Europe, came back, walked the stage, and immediately my first thought was, I love working on this ancient architecture. I want to continue doing that. I'm definitely going to stay in preservation. And at that time, I had applied to University of Virginia's Historic Preservation program for their PhD program, because I thought for sure I was going to teach. And I thought, UVA is an incredible preservation program. At that time, they were pretty much the best of the best. And now there's other programs that try to, give them a little bit of competition. And so I said, I'm going to move to Virginia, because I thought that was the oldest architecture in America. I laugh at that now. We can talk about that in a minute. But I got to Virginia and got a little job in Charlottesville with a firm, because I thought, I don't want to be one of those people who can, they sort of accuse professors sometimes of not being able to do, so they teach.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted some credibility, so I thought, I'm going to work for a year. And I got so into working that I was like, I don't need a PhD, and I don't even know what they're saying anyway half of the time. So I'm just going to keep working and see how that goes. And that was incredible. I got to work on historic train stations. I actually developed a strange expertise in historic train stations in Virginia, and which is kind of weird and fun. It's totally different than Gothic cathedrals and Palladian villas.
Yeah, but if you think about it, those are our American cathedrals.
In a certain way, they really kind of are. And it was about a year and a half later, I was walking through my office past a bookcase, and I noticed that it was a metal bookcase, and I noticed that there was a kink in the bookcase. And I walked by that over and over again for quite a few days. And the kink, I would run my finger down it, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's not a kink there, but I can see a kink. And eventually it finally registered with me that maybe there was something wrong with my eye or eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I made a doctor's appointment, and I went to the appointment, and within about 10 minutes of being seen by the doctor, a nurse came in and said, we've made an appointment for you at UVA with the best specialist in the country, and you need to go over there right now. And they didn't tell me what was going on. They just told me I needed to see a specialist. And so I went straight over to the university and saw a doctor who specializes in retinal problems and macular problems. And he told me that I have macular degeneration, and that most likely I would be blind in 3 years.
And how long ago was that?
15 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm still working.
Yeah. I know you could see because you saw me on the camera. So.
Right. So my center vision is gone in my right eye, and because it's my dominant eye, my brain sometimes thinks that my left eye is blind too. And there's no real telling when I'll be able to see and not see, which has been problematic because it's kind of hard to work, 60 hours a week in a firm when you don't know if you have 20 or 60 hours a week that week of eye time coming.
So your eyes basically come in and out. Sometimes they
Yeah.
work and sometimes they don't.
Right. And so that was a big adjustment. I was pretty well halfway through my IDP program, and it got worse pretty progressively, very quickly. And they did some laser treatments to sort of arrest to try to keep me from going completely blind, and that has worked for the most part. Some days. But it was pretty devastating, to the point where I ended up quitting architecture entirely, because emotionally I couldn't handle the idea of continuing on and maybe not being able to get all the way.
Yeah.
But it only took a year before I was like, oh my God, I have to go back.
The passion was too strong.
Miserable.
What did you do when you left?
I went and interestingly, so my best friend lived in Colorado. In fact, a lot of people in AI know of him because he's kind of a legend. Jason Pettigrew, who the ARE scholarship is named after now. And I said, the last thing I want to see is going to be the Rocky Mountains. So I moved across the country and moved just north of Denver and worked as a grant writer, doing grants for nonprofits that wanted to do architectural projects, and was funded for some $3 million of grants for that. And so I actually developed a pretty cool little side expertise in being able to find money for projects, which has served me really well in the rest of my career. So I went back to architecture to a firm, and I got a job with a firm in Cheyenne, Wyoming, they thought were going to move into historic preservation, and they ended up not. So I ended up moving to Vail, Colorado, and working on amazing multi-million-dollar houses, doing European design, timber framing, and that kind of stuff, which was just amazing. To experience that level of design and detailing. And so I just kept working. I didn't give up. And then about 11 years ago, I sort of had this weird thing where I don't remember where I heard it originally, but I was listening. I can't remember if it was a TED Talk or a lecture at an AIA convention. And someone was talking about how 2% of people can afford architects. And my jaw kind of dropped. And something in that just fundamentally shifted me in a way that I was never going to come back from. And I started looking at these giant, amazing houses that we were doing and being like, what is this for? And in my sort of crisis, I said, a friend of mine had moved down to Taos, New Mexico, and I came to visit her for the weekend, and I ended up moving here 3 weeks later. I just quit and moved. And it was really extraordinary to come here, to go from that level of work and come here and watch people making things literally out of mud and sticks and rocks. And
major culture shift.
Literally. And some of these buildings have been here for 1,000 years. And they've been built that way and loved up. They're treated every year with new mud and sometimes new roofs. And it really touched my heart because it became about architecture for regular people. And as my eyes continued to progress, towards blindness and more difficulty in predicting when I would be able to work, I sort of just decided that I wanted to see how I can make a difference for the other 98% of the people who can't afford us.
Yeah.
Because I realized that if I was to take a map of the town that I lived in, any town that you live in actually, and make dots on the map of all of the LEED and LEED compliant or LEED potential buildings, and sustainable buildings or passive buildings or any of the great sustainability metrics that we have to work with today, there would be a few dots on the map. And I thought about, well, what about the other 150,000 dots on the map? How can we make those a little greener? And so I started to really dig into vernacular architecture and place and architecture that responds to place. And it just took me down this amazing rabbit hole that I never could have predicted, where I'm working with tribes to tell their architectural story, and I'm working with historic sites to tell their architectural stories. And it's just become this thing where it's not really about architecture and the elegance and the details and all of that anymore. It's more about this idea of architecture being part of a system, an ecosystem, a cultural system. It responds to the environment, and how we could elevate the way that we think and the way that we reach people. And so it's been a really interesting journey to get here, but it has taken a lot of twists and turns.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's some story. And I am one who believes that everything happens for a reason, and that we're all on this path and this journey, and you end up where it's the result of all the other things that happened in your life, both good and bad.
Absolutely,
and
I agree with
you're
that.
a perfect example of that. That you are where you are today, of of that story, that all of those benchmarks that you talked about led to you to where you are today and what you're doing
Absolutely.
today.
And it was so cool. My kind of as an aside, my father actually passed away a few months ago, and I'd gone home to help my mom in his transition before he passed. And we were all sitting there, and I looked at them and I said, I had gotten an email about something, and I was kind of tearing up because I'm very attached to my projects, and because it's from my heart now, right? It's not from my head anymore. And I looked over at them and I said, I finally feel like I'm at the right place at the right time doing the right thing. And it was just such a huge moment for me to realize that all of that had led up to something really beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm getting upset.
Yeah. I could feel that. And I could imagine that, you look back at your teenage years, and
Right.
it sounds like you sort of had a difficult time as a teenager. Weren't sure where you wanted to be or what you wanted to do. And anybody who sort of chooses to go to military school is a unique person. That there's a lot of things going on in your life if that's the choice that you want to make.
Right. And my father had been a Marine Corps drill instructor, so that made it easier. But I knew that I wanted to protect people.
Yeah.
And that has never changed.
Right.
It's fundamental to what I do. And that's kind of interesting that it shifted.
Hey, let's take a quick break to say thank you to our platform sponsors here at Entree Architect. We can't be doing this without them. So let's say thank you to ARCAT, FreshBooks, and Gusto. Summer is for being outdoors and going on vacation, right? Not spending extra hours in the office. Well, luckily, our friends at ARCAT can help. No matter where you are, maybe on a sandy beach or in a vacation home, or maybe you're working from home on your staycation, well, ARCAT has a great tool to help you stay connected with colleagues and clients. ARCAT's free service, Charrette, allows you to create projects, collaborate, assign tasks, share your thoughts, or simply create a portfolio to promote your firm for free. It's absolutely free. Just like everything at ARCAT, it's free. Just go to entrearchitect.com/ARCAT and click on the Charrette button right up at the top of the page. That's entrearchitect.com/ARCAT. ARCAT. FreshBooks makes it simple to send invoices, post your expenses automatically, track your time for your whole team, buy project, and get organized with reports, communication, and notifications. And getting started with FreshBooks is ridiculously easy. Most people send their first invoice seconds after starting their free trial. The same goes for tracking time, managing expenses, collaborating with contractors, and viewing financial reports. Fast, easy, maybe even life-changing. And if you need help at any time, free award-winning customer service is just a phone call or an email away. And if you have ever had second thoughts, don't worry. On top of our free trial for Entre Architect listeners, you get a 30-day money-back guarantee so you don't ever have to worry about choosing FreshBooks. So give FreshBooks a try. It's free for 30 days. Just visit entrearchitect.com/FreshBooks and then let them know that we sent you by sharing Entre Architect in the How Did You Hear About Us section. That's entrearchitect.com/FreshBooks to access your free 30-day trial today. Payroll and benefits are hard, especially when you're a small business. You don't have time to be an expert in things like taxes and regulations, and old-school payroll providers just aren't built for the way that we work today. Gusto is making payroll, benefits, and HR easy for small businesses. Modern technology does the heavy lifting, so it's easy for you to get it right. No longer do you have to be a big company to get great technology, great benefits, and great service for your team. And to help support the show, Gusto is offering our listeners an exclusive limited time deal. Sign up today and you'll get 3 months free. Once you run a first payroll, 3 months free. Just go to entrearchitect.com/gusto. That is entrearchitect.com/gusto, GUSTO, and claim your free 3 months of payroll processing today. ARCAT, FreshBooks, and Gusto. Please visit our platform sponsors today and thank them for supporting you, the Entre Architect community. So you're in New Mexico now,
New Mexico.
and you're working on these 1,000-year-old homes and buildings. So how are you doing that? What are you doing now in terms of architecture? And you said you're telling the stories of architecture. So how are you doing that?
So a few years ago, oh my goodness, there's another interesting layer of story that gets to happen. So when I moved to New Mexico in 2008, I started to sort of rethink. And like I said, I decided that I wanted to reach the other 98% of people who can't afford an architect. And so I decided that I wanted to become a better speaker because I wanted to be able to go and speak to people about what we do and why it matters and why it really matters to everyone and not just the people who can afford us. And so I had set a goal for doing a TED Talk. And I actually got the TED Talk in 2011 and at TEDx ABQ, and I sort of told a very abbreviated version of the 1,000-year story of New Mexico architecture and how it's always been sustainable and how we'd only had mechanical systems for a tiny little sliver of that time and before our buildings had always responded to their environment. And that was amazing. And I became friends with some of the people that were other speakers from that TED event. And we were all sitting around the table in the green room, actually during the event. And a couple of them and I were talking, and they said to me, it's really cool that you have this idea, but what are you going to do with it? And I was like, well, I just reached my lifetime goal of being on a TED stage.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. And now what?
Now what? And I was like, I'm barely breathing. Like I'm still recovering from the panic attack I had going on stage, Anyway, so that got me to thinking, and I thought, well, you know what? This is preposterous. I am going to make a TV show for New Mexico PBS about New Mexico architecture and every period that is represented in that. So pre-Puebloan, Puebloan, Navajo, Hispanic period, American period, all the way up to modern day, the weird stuff that we do here, the earthships and the passive houses and all that kind of stuff, the hippie communes, all of it. And which is ridiculous because I had no experience making a TV show or even putting video on my camera. I had no idea what I was doing. But I decided I was going to do it anyway. And so I wrangled some of my other crazy friends into shooting a pilot with me. And so we went and we shot La Posada in Winslow, Arizona, a farm and table, a restaurant in Albuquerque that's really truly farm to table, and you sit out there and you look at the agriculture. The food that you eat is growing out in front of you with acequias, which are irrigation ditches running past you, and a historic site that had been really important called Los Poblanos in Albuquerque. And then we went one day to shoot at Acoma Pueblo. And Acoma Pueblo is amazing. For those of you that don't know, it's a historic village that's been there for 600 plus years, and it sits on top of a mesa. And the only way you used to be able to get to it was to climb the 250-foot mesa. They had a modern cultural center that had been designed by an architect here in Santa Fe that was just extraordinary. It's very, very modern, but it also it tells the story of their architecture. Every bit of the building is taken from the historic village that's 600 years old, that was taken from Chaco Canyon, which was 1,000 years old, and on and on and on through history. And so I wanted to tell the story of this building, this modern building. And we got there, and Acoma was wide open. They just let us shoot all over the place. They let us interview their elders, and it was just incredible. Anyway, so fast forward, we come back to the office, and we're putting together what I thought was going to be an 8-minute segment of this pilot. And my editor looks over at me. She goes, "Rachel, you need to get over here." And I was like, "Okay, what's wrong?" I thought there was something wrong with the film. Turns out she's like, "We have an amazing story." And I was like, "Okay, so like how amazing?" and so she said, "Let me do some work on it and I'll show it to you." And I said, "Okay, that sounds great." And so she cut a 44-minute version of a documentary on Sky City Cultural Center and the architecture of Acoma Pueblo. And I looked at it and I was like, "Oh, wow, you're not wrong." And so we sent it to the Pueblo, some friends of ours that we had worked with over there. And they said, "This is amazing. We want to show it in our visitor center. Will you cut it to 30 minutes? And so we did. And then the editor was like, "I think we should enter this in some film festivals, just a couple, sort of cultural film festivals." And I thought, well, okay, that sounds kind of exciting. And we talked to Acoma, and they loved the idea of increasing tourism. So they thought, yeah, that's a great idea. Definitely, y'all can do that. And so we did. And so the film ended up going to film festivals. And that was really awesome. In fact, we opened the Pueblo Cultural Center Film Festival, which is usually only Native American films. But because it was about Acoma and it was down the street from them, they thought, "Oh, we'll let these people tell their story." And that was kind of amazing. And one of our Acoma grandmothers who was there at the festival, she said, "This is really awesome. I wish we could show it to our kids in our middle school program and get them interested in our architecture." And so I looked over at my friend Zen, who's my editor, and I said, "What do you think?" And she said, "We should build a curriculum around it." So we did. And
so we did. This is a common theme. So we did.
Yeah. Definitely not asking for permission.
Yeah.
This stuff, just going for it.
Yeah.
And we showed it to them, and they said they loved it. And then we said, it would be really amazing if we could build a curriculum about New Mexico architecture for kids throughout the state. And so I started a little nonprofit called Architecture for Everybody, and that's what we're doing. So I have a hybrid practice. I have a preservation and marketing practice helping other architects tell their stories. That's my for-profit side. And on the nonprofit side, we just released the Acoma curriculum to the public about a month ago. And this summer, we're at Bandelier National Monument filming, and we'll be filming, hopefully, with San Ildefonso Pueblo's first Native American archaeologist with a PhD in the world. He works right up the road, and he's going to be working with us. And there's a potential, we'll know after next week with Tribal Council, that we'll also get to involve elders from San Ildefonso Pueblo to tell their story. And then we'll add on and do all the things that we've filmed that we haven't turned into curriculum yet. As we raise more money, we'll just keep doing those. And then ultimately, we'll take workshops out into the community where they can learn to tell their own stories, and they can learn how to triage projects, and we can bring experts to them instead of, I don't know, one of the things that happens in the for-profit side of the business is I get calls a lot where they call me, and it's, some grandson and his Grammy has lived their family's had this house for 300 years, and everybody's moved away, and there's no money, and how do they preserve their buildings, and how much money are they going to need, and what do they need to do? And it's devastating to tell them, you probably can't even afford the architectural plan to get it to happen.
Yeah.
If you have to ask about the money, you probably can't afford it. And so I decided to reach out to all of my architect friends and preservationists and historians and archaeologists and engineers. And I said, let's put together something where we can take something out into the community for a weekend and just triage what they need to do and give them a plan so they can at least try to do it one step at a time, but it's something that they can actually afford. And so that's the next step for the nonprofit. And it's really kind of exciting seeing what's happening, because as more and more people find out about it and want to participate in it, it's drawing the most incredible people and opportunities and stories. And so I'm super excited that we've been this crazy idea has turned into something that people are entrusting us with their story. And it's just really amazing. And I'm just blown away that we're getting to continue to do this. All of this that seemed like, let's just try this and see what happens. And it's grown into something so much more than I ever anticipated.
Yeah, it sounds like it's your path, and because the theme keeps coming up, and so we did. You said yes. You said yes. Somebody asked you and you said yes. And whether you could do it or not, that was what you did. You just took the next step,
Right.
And you ended up where you are today. So you have a for-profit side and a not-for-profit side.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you choose to sort of do it that way rather than just focus on the nonprofit side?
Because finding money for nonprofit work is really, really hard, and it's getting harder in this economy. And people who already don't understand the value of architecture, don't understand the value of investing in telling the story of architecture so that they can understand the value of architecture. So we're kind of in a loop, a stuck place where it's really hard to sort of make this story relevant, because people have never thought about why it would need to be told. And for me, it's essential for our profession, because I think that there's a separation between us and our clients and the general world, where I don't know if it's romanticization or elitism, some people would say, or what, but this whole idea that architecture seems so far away from normal people. That I just feel like I really want people to understand that what we do is really, it has the potential to create great communities and help rebuild strong communities and sustainable communities. And it's not just all about, pretty pictures and glossy magazines. right? It's not all about these people who are celebrated. It's the people who are in the dirt, doing the hard work, doing it for less than they deserve, but they make a difference. They make a difference. You can.
And
It's just such a
those
gift.
stories are really what's going to change it, right? It's telling the stories of each and every one of us.
Right. Absolutely.
So how do we do that? As small firm architects who are working their butts off to try to get their bills paid, and to follow their passion and do what they want to do, how do they also contribute to this overall mission of the profession, of telling the stories that we need to tell in order to sort of shift the perception of what we do?
So here's where I think that there's a shift that needs to happen, or that I would like to see happen, let's say, that, and I kind of alluded to it a minute ago. So I don't know about you, but running a practice is so tedious. There's just so much required. You have to have financial expertise and legal expertise and code expertise and, your own zoning expertise. There's just no level of space in there for heart, right? It's all so mental, and it's really hard to do that. And a lot of us are burning out. At least a lot of my friends are burning out.
Yes, that is definitely happening, and I see it every day in our community. I get messages in the Facebook group that we have, and I get personal messages back to me saying exactly that they just can't do it anymore. That they just they love it and they're passionate about it, but how do they keep going?
I think it's because our brains have ravaged our hearts. We are not keeping the balance of why we did this. Like, all of us got into this. I mean, I won't say all. Most of us got into this because we wanted to make a difference in the world, and we love design, and we love architecture, and we are ground with all of the bull data that we don't have time to love it anymore, except for when we go on vacation and we take all these great pictures and our Instagram feeds are beautiful.
Right.
But we never just step back and be like, oh my gosh, we're in this community. And why did I take this project? Why do I love this project? Why did I want to do this? And so it's strange because, like, how do you run a business of architecture? The way I see that people who are surviving and thriving in this kind of terrible economy, I hear lots of people say that it's thriving in places in the country. It's not thriving in New Mexico, and it's not thriving with a lot of my friends who are in the grind every day, whether they be in Chicago or New York or wherever. It's just not, and it's so strange, but I really do believe that part of the thing that we need to do is to back out and be like, and to remember, take 5 minutes every day to remember why we love it. And if we can, to talk about why we love it and to share that with people. Because I don't know about you, but I cannot walk out a door and people find out that I'm in architecture. And what do they say? Oh, I wish I could have been an architect. That is your audience. They are hungry to know what you do, and not the grind part of it, but why you do it and why you keep doing it. They would love to live vicariously through us.
So would you say do that? How do you do that? Do you do that on social media? Do you do that on video? Do you go out and shake hands? Do you go out to your library and do seminars? How do you do that?
It depends on who you are as a person. There's no way to do it all, right?
Yeah.
And some of us are better speakers, and some of us are introverts. I would say I will challenge every introvert, because I'm an extroverted introvert. But I would challenge any introvert to go for doing the things that terrify you, like. How audacious was it that I was like, oh, I want to do a TED Talk. Like, I didn't even know what I was going to talk about. It was preposterous that I would even consider that. But I did it because I wanted to learn how to be a good speaker. And as that happens, TED gives you a lot of training in that area. And so I am not afraid of speaking to anybody at this point because I have a little bit of time behind me. But I would just set one goal at a time. I was like, okay, I'm going to learn about Twitter. I'm going to learn about Instagram. I'm going to do all this for a month. I'm going to focus on this and find out what part of it I like. And I'm going to focus on this next thing and find out what part about it I like. And slowly I've eliminated the things that don't work for me. I'm not a particularly great lecturer, for instance. I'm more of a person who can inspire people. I'm not as interested in the dates of construction of things or the methods of construction of things. So that's not really my bailiwick. But I love to tell the stories of the architecture that surrounds me and the architecture that inspires me and the architects that inspire me. And people respond really well to that. So for me, it's worked out that I've been able to build a presence on social media that works for me. But for different people, it's going to be different things. And that kind of comes back to this, like, take just a few minutes every day for yourself to be like, what part of this do I really like?
Yeah.
What part of this profession where do I want to be in 5 years? Where do I want to be in 10 years? And what can I do to help get me there now? And worry less about the grind so much. If you even give yourself half an hour a day, your world will shift, and not very quick, and not in a long time. And that has been something, I think part of the driving force for me, and a lot of people will say, oh, I don't have time for that, or, oh, self-care, woo-woo, whatever, like I did when people would say, oh, Rachel, you have to take time for self-care. I was like, bah, but then my eyes quit, and I'm like, okay, well, now what? But the beauty of being a person who's going blind is that every single day is a gift. And it makes me where I'm kind of fearless. I'm not really a fearless person, but I'm kind of fearless in my profession because I kind of figure I have nothing to lose because it's all going to go away anyway.
Yeah.
Like there's going to be a point where my eyes don't work, and because it is progressive, and and then what? And I'll have to decide what I'm going to do then. But, I made a decision that I wanted to become a storyteller because that was something that I could do without my eyes. I can still love up on architects and architecture without being able to see them.
Yeah.
Just like right now, we're sitting here on a video call and we had to turn the video off. Well, I can still know who you are and love what you're doing and share that. I could probably tell a story about you right now. and so that I kind of cultivated that because I thought about what am I going to do when all this is over, when the miracle days are gone,
Yeah.
And so what I decided to do was that I was going to be a champion of architecture, and I was going to work for the good.
Did you do that in a formal plan, or did you do that sort of say, okay, this is not going to work, but this is, so that's the direction I'm going to go? Or,
absolutely.
So there was you didn't write anything down and say, okay, this is where I want to be.
I've done both.
Yeah, so you've done both.
I've done both.
Yep.
In good days when when I actually make those 30 minutes for myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm in the grind just like everybody else, right? So on good days when I remember to do this, and I've actually scheduled it now, to be honest, because I just can't.
Yeah. Well, that's how you get it done, right?
Right. And interestingly, I do it first thing in the morning or right thing before I go to bed because I don't want it to go away. I don't want to have to keep trying to carry it, and it helps me have focus for the rest of the day. Yes, I do have. I sort of had a strategy in my head, and then when I'm being smart about business, and taking that time for myself, I definitely write it down. I definitely have goal lists and strategies. I have a marketing plan. I have a business plan. I have all of the plans that you're supposed to have. But I didn't just sit down and blow through them. I built them over time, and I adjust them. Yeah, I adjust them on a very regular basis. I would even go so far to say that I'm probably adjusting my business plan at least monthly.
Yeah, and that's why I ask that, because I'm an advocate for planning to write a life plan. That business plan is part of that, but know where you want to go in your life. I like a life
plan. That's a great idea.
Right, and write a vision narrative. Write a story about, and because we're creative people, we like stories. Write a story about yourself. What does your life look like 3 to 5 years from now? And then that gives you something to build the rest of your plan on. Create, your vision and your mission and your goals and your actions, all to get you to where you want to go. Because when I hear your story, it sounds like very much like, okay, well then I did this, and then I did this, and this led me to that, and so I took that chance, and it led me to there. But somewhere along the line, you got intentional about where you wanted to be. And so,
absolutely.
so your consulting firm and your nonprofit are the result of those plans. Those didn't just happen. Those were planned and executed. And I want
without a
to
plan, but yes.
right, but
I
I
didn't
want
know where we were going to go with it,
but you were
but yes.
intentional about it. You said, okay,
Yes.
I want to do this nonprofit thing, and I need to fund that nonprofit. And that's why I asked that question, because I get that question all the time about nonprofits. How do you fund a nonprofit? Well, build a profitable side of the business that helps
Absolutely.
you fund the nonprofit, and then you can do all the nonprofit you want to do.
Absolutely. And because grants are a total question mark. And if you have regular income coming in, it's much more doable. In fact, it's so interesting to see that that's how the nonprofit sector is actually moving right now. So that many, many, many more firms. So I'm fiscally sponsored by the Rio Grande Community Development Corporation in Albuquerque, and we do a whole lot of trainings, and there are all different kinds of organizations that are a part of that. And that's actually the way they're telling everyone to go now, is to build something profitable that can help support the organizations, because the foundations are drying up.
Yeah. I hope those who are listening right now, you listening out there who want to start a nonprofit, because there are a lot of you, because we're that
Really?
type of people. You know, we're people who want to give back. And many of us just want to do it because that's what we want to do. And they want to build nonprofits. I hear about this all the time. And then they say, well, how do I fund that nonprofit? We're going to fund it by grants and do all this. I say, well, you're going to spend your entire life funding that nonprofit. And that's all you're
That's
going to
right.
do. So I hope you like that. Because
It's 80% of the time. In my experience, it has been 80% of the time is what's required to get funding.
yeah. And so if you build a profitable business side, then you have money to feed yourself and to feed your staff and help support the nonprofit. So you can do that nonprofit work and still run a successful business. And you also talked about, finding that time to remind yourself of your passion. The best way to find that time is to build a strong business, to build a business that's thriving, that gives you the money that you need, that gives you the resources that you need, to give you the time to remind yourself how much you love the architecture, which is why I constantly, that's my entire theme, that's my message, is to build the business first, and then that
Absolutely.
business helps fund your passion. And then
Right.
talk about loving your passion. When there's money in the bank, you will love your passion because your
Right.
bills are being paid. Because
That's
you
true.
can't follow your passion. You can't get excited about what you're doing. You can't get excited about who you are if your bills are not paid. Because that is painful. That is stressful. That tears apart your relationships. That tears apart your passion, and it burns you out. And so if you can build a business that has money coming in, that will thrive and feed and fuel your passion.
Absolutely.
So that's my rant.
Well, and I would actually add, 100% agree with you. And when you do it, make sure that the work that you focus on doing is related to the work that you want your nonprofit to do,
Yeah.
because it's much easier if you're not trying to go in two different directions. So we do marketing and branding, and we're starting to get a little bit into video and 360 photography and all that kind of stuff on the business side. And that's supporting the work that's evolving in the nonprofit side, which is actually helping us shift the business. But they work together very integrally. In fact, it's hard to bill things sometimes, because it's like, well, was this for
Right,
the
which
nonprofit
side,
time,
right.
or was this for the profit side?
Yeah.
So that would be something that I would say, if you want to really be successful at it and not just kill yourself with burnout, make sure that there's a correlation between the work.
Yeah, that's great
because it
advice.
makes it much easier.
Because otherwise, you're building two businesses.
Absolutely.
One's profitable and one's nonprofit.
And
it's hard enough
the
to build
difference
one.
between the two, right? And the difference between the two is nightmarish, to be honest with you. It's just you having to learn how to work in the nonprofit world and the business world. They are two different animals.
Right. So
they have two different audiences. You have a totally different way of speaking to people in the nonprofit world than you have in the business world.
So basically, the profitable side and the nonprofit side have very similar visions and very similar missions, right?
Yes.
So they're basically doing the same thing, but one, people are paying you for it, and the other side, you're helping people. You're giving it away essentially on one side.
Basically, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so you're doing the same thing, but you have two separate organizations doing the same thing for different reasons.
Exactly.
I love that. So I hope those people out there who are trying to put together a nonprofit and are struggling or trying to figure out how, many students come to me and say, I want to build this as a nonprofit. And so I hope they hear this message that you need to build a profitable side too. That it's not, you can't do one without the other anymore. You have to do both.
Right.
I love that. Rachel, thank you very much for being here with us today. This has been
Absolutely.
fantastic. I'd love to have you come back because I'm sure there's lots more to talk about.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm happy to have you come back anytime you want.
Thank you.
I want to share how people can reach out to you and get involved in what you're doing, or ask you questions or just say thank you. The website is Archenia, right? Did I say that right? Archenia,
That's right.
Archenia.com. And so it's ARCHINIA.com, Archenia.com. The nonprofit site is architectureforeverybody.org. So go check out those two sites. And basically, Archenia Design all over social media, Facebook, Instagram, Archenia Design. On Twitter, it's just Archenia. But if you search Archenia, you're going to find Rachel. So definitely go do that. Go search her out. Go see what else she's doing because there's a lot more to this story. Rachel, thank you very much for joining us here today and for sharing your knowledge at Entree Architect Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. And please, everybody, do reach out to me because we are stronger together and we can make a real difference in the world as collaborators and commiserators. And I will do anything I can to celebrate you and your work. And I'm dying to find out what you're doing with your dreams. So please reach out. Thank you.
Where's the best place to find you? Where are you most easily accessible?
Easiest is either Instagram or Facebook, really.
Okay. Archenia
or
Design.
email.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what's your email before we wrap up?
Intention design, setting an intention design at gmail.com.
intentiondesign@gmail.com. We'll have all of this in the show notes. This is episode 231. So you can go to entrearchitect.com/episode 231, and we'll have links to all of this stuff. Rachel, thanks again. I appreciate you for coming here today.
Thanks so much, Mark.
So there you go. You heard that right. It's episode 231. That's the link to share. entrearchitect.com/episode 231. Let's share this episode for Rachel and Architecture for Everybody. And let's get that message out to the world about what she's doing over there because it's so inspiring. Rachel has such a great story. I loved listening to how she sort of came to be where she is today. What a fantastic origin story. Go check out Architecture for Everybody and Archenia and see what she's doing over there. I get requests all the time. Very often do I get requests from young architects who want to start up nonprofits and don't know how to do it. They have this idea that they're going to do this and they're going to get grants and they're going to get easily funded and they're going to spend their whole life getting funded and they're never going to get to the nonprofit, the charity part, the part that they want to make a difference because they're only going to be spending their whole life building, getting this fundraising going. Take a message, take a lesson from what Rachel's doing. Build a nonprofit first. Build the profitable nonprofit. Build the for-profit architecture firm first, or a design studio, or some sort of source of income. Make sure it's something that's related, something that you love, and do it for profit. And then use the profits. Use that 20%. Throw that into the charity. Throw that into building this nonprofit. Build a profitable corporation. Build a profitable firm that supports the nonprofit side. That's the way to build a successful nonprofit. So if you're thinking about that, listen to this episode again. Go reach out to Rachel and pick her brain and listen to what she's doing over there at Archenia and Architecture for Everybody. And again, share this episode with a friend. It's entrearchitect.com/episode 231. And while you're listening and sharing and doing all that wonderful things, why don't you go listen to my friends over at ArchiSpeak podcast and Inside the Firm podcast. Those are two fantastic podcasts. So if you're in iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you're listening to this, go over there and subscribe to those guys too. They do a great job and you'll really, really like it if you're not listening already. And learn how to earn that elusive 20%. Are you earning 20% on every project? Well, I can show you how. Download our free course today at entrearchitect.com/free course. How easy it is it to remember? How easy can I make it to remember that link? entrearchitect.com/free course. It's our Profit for Small Firm Architects course, and it's free. My name is Mark Arlepage, and I am an entrepreneur architect, and I encourage you to go build a better business so you can be a better architect. Love, learn, and share what you know. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.
Imagine earning continuing education credits while doing exactly what you're doing right now. Well, you can. Gable Media has revolutionized the way you earn your continuing education credits with a groundbreaking approach. Forget running around town and scouring the internet for credit-worthy courses. Fulfill your CE requirements effortlessly by listening to engaging podcasts just like the one you're listening to now. Our podcasts are designed to educate, entertain, and inspire, all in a user-friendly environment. But wait, there's more. Architects, Gable Media is also approved as an AIA continuing education services provider. Upon completion, we handle everything, from reporting your hours directly to the AIA to storing your certificates in your personal Gable Media profile for your self-reporting needs. So follow the link in the show notes and start earning your credits in the most innovative and entertaining way possible with Gable Media.
Attention architects and creative minds, get ready to supercharge your brand with Build Your Brand, the podcast that's unlocking the secrets of branding success for creatives. Hey there, it's Mark Arlepage, founder of Entre Architect, and I'm inviting you to join my friend, architect marketing expert Jeff Eccles at Build Your Brand podcast, where he explores the captivating stories of the world's top brands and transforms their lessons into powerful moves for small firm architects and creatives like you. In Season 1, Jeff shares the thrilling tale of Southwest Airlines, where he dissects their journey to the summit and distills it into strategies tailor-made for you.
It's important to keep in mind that companies like Southwest compete in the real world, just like you, and face real-world challenges, just like you. You might be surprised at how similar those challenges are to the struggles that you grapple with on a day-to-day basis.
Don't miss out on your blueprint for success. Subscribe, tune in, and let's build your brand together.
You may have noticed that the very best brands in the world are also known for having somewhat unique corporate cultures. That's often the glue that holds everything together when they encounter those rough spots.
We don't do it because it inconveniences the passengers to whom we are primarily dedicated, the short haul, frequent flyer.
Follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Your Brand today. Remember, no matter the size, the journey's the same. Your brand's journey to the top starts here.